Hello, everyone. My name is Francesco Cipollone. I'm the CEO and founder of Phoenix Security. Today, I want to talk about a vulnerability that's been wreaking havoc on the web and specifically on specific countries. So the vulnerability is well known as the Movit Transfer from Progress Software, where we've seen a number of vulnerability released throughout June that have affected not only the software in itself, but have been involved in a number of major high news data breaches like BBC, British Airways, and Boots that were all affected by the compromisation of Zealous HR software. The attack was conducted by the ransomware group CLOP, that is a group that belongs to Russia, Russian attack vector group that has been particularly active since years, but has been more in the news of recently because of this high-stake attack and the fact that this attack was conducted over a longer period of time. The vulnerability was first disclosed at the beginning of June with the name of 35708, and more recently updated with a second vulnerability release on the 15th of June, 35708, that as the current time is the 19th of June, still doesn't have a lot of information and criticality, but because the previous one was a SQL injection with the potential of a remote code execution, an RCE attack, was deemed highly critical, and because an attack was conducted at scale and in a very targeted way, organizations have been advised to not only patch the system, the Movit Transfer system, but also to disconnect them from the web or isolate them as much as possible. Now, why is this vulnerability particularly bad? Well, the Movit Transfer software is a system that is supposed allegedly to transfer files in a secure way from a system to the other. And it did so. So a lot of organizations relied on this file transfer system, and SaaS application relied on this file transfer system to transfer file, encrypted information, critical information for those organizations, and the supplier of those organizations as well moved file for those organizations in behalf of those organizations. Now, compromising one of those systems meant that unfortunately, some of this data got disclosed, and the ransomware group more recently disclosed some of this information is using the tactic of threatening organizations that don't pay the ransom to actually disclose. Now, because the group is a Russian group, it's particularly tricky because the group has been, and Russian country has been deemed as a particularly difficult country to deal with for the situation of Ukraine, and hence paying a ransom to a group that belongs to a banned country can affect you in multiple ways. Now, there is a lot of speculation around this particular group and particular attack, and specifically because there's been a lot of noise around the vulnerability, with two vulnerabilities in a sequence, in a chain being discovered. And the Movit Transfer, the Progress software, have been very good at disclosing, notifying, not covering. So it's been very active in handling the situation. Now, there are a lot of software and a lot of server exposed across the web, specifically US, Canada, but throughout fundamentally Europe and Asia. There are a total of 2,500 servers exposed, as Rapid7 and Shodan Advisory have released, and we've seen it up to the beginning of June. Now there are a little bit less. There is a little bit of contentious point because the criticality of the vulnerability is very high, especially if your system is exposed over the web. But the likelihood of exploitation from different solutions and systems that have honeynet deployed around and identify when an attack is being triggered has been particularly low. EPSS and various CTI have publicly available CTI have scored this vulnerability as very low in terms of likelihood of exploitation in the next 30 days. Now, because there is a reason behind that. Those attacks were very targeted, very dangerous, and had a ripple effect that was particularly vast and wide because they attacked very targeted organization, and the ripple effect of those attacks actually not only affected that organization like Zealous, but also all the other organizations that were connected to it. So the challenge is that looking at volumes, those attacks were really low in volumes and not widespread, but they were very targeted as attack, maybe not that automated like what we've seen with Log4j, very targeted attacks, so with the likelihood of exploitation to be low, but the impact and the ripple effect of that attack to be very, very high. So this is where combining different sources of threat information and threat feeds really comes in handy because, for example, Grey Noise has identified vulnerability data as those attacks as very high in terms of impact and being conducted by threat actors that at scale operate. They're very, very reliable source of information and they're very malicious. So overall, what should you do? Well, there is a link in the comments with all the indication of the remediation as well. Go on Progress Software, remediate, do vulnerability inventory, and do inventory of your system because you might not know if you have this software installed or if any of your third party have this system installed. So please look between your software, upgrade the system if you can, and isolate absolutely the system from the web if you can, because the remote code execution means that an attack could potentially trigger additional source of code in your system. If you want some help, we're here to help. Phoenix Security is here to actually operate at scale and help organizations at scale, identifying where specific software is installed and which person actually is responsible for it. So we're here to help doing vulnerability management at scale. My name is Francesco Cipollone. I'm the CEO and founder of Phoenix Security. I hope this was informational, and I hope you get to address those vulnerabilities as soon as you can. Stay safe out there, patch your system, and keep your ears close to the ground to get more information. We will publish updated information and video as the news progress and as we get more information for this vulnerability. In the meantime, stay safe out there. My name is Francesco. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Phoenix. Fix vulnerabilities today before attackers exploit them tomorrow.